4 games left for us to preview on Wildcard Weekend on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. This podcast, we're looking forward to the Broncos, Bills, Packers, Eagles, Commanders, Buccaneers, and the Vikings, Rams, which will be interesting. They might well be moving that game due to the fires in LA. Obviously, we hope everyone's okay, but they might be moving that to Arizona as a game. But we'll learn more about that as the week goes on. But 4 games for us to look forward to. Luke Elder alongside Tom Collins. Tom, we've already previewed 2 of them.
We have. If you haven't seen that podcast so far, the NFL Wildcard Saturday podcast, there should have been a link at the top of the screen. If there wasn't, go to our channel. You can go and click that and see our views on those 2 games on Saturday, providing you're watching this pre-Saturday games. And also, just for a spoiler, we are wearing the same clothes. We are filming this back-to-back. I mean, I did think about going and putting my Green Bay jumper on because obviously Green Bay are playing. But then I did remember that it is about 40 degrees in my house right now due to the heating, and I would probably die.
I was going to say that's not due to outside being hot. There's literally snow on the ground outside right now. That's your fault.
It is very much my fault. It is -2, I think, outside in where I live right now. But it's definitely not -2 in this house. I am hot.
Where do you live? What's the home address?
Move on.
P.O. Box. But we do have 4 games to be looking forward to. Let us tell you about our sponsors. The guys over at SBK, if you go to their new app, download it. If you're a new customer, place £10, you get £40 in free bets. Nailed that one. And also at the weekend, you get 25% ACCA boost as well. All ACCAs on the NFL over at SBK, you get 25% extra on top of that, which is very nice. Nailed it.
You nailed it. I mean, you didn't in the Saturday one, but you nailed this one. So good job. I also said in the Saturday pod, but I'll say it here in case anyone didn't see that one. There is going to be a first touchdown scorer offer moving forward from next weekend onward throughout the whole rest of the playoffs. But obviously, we've got 2 great offers that Luke's already talked about there with SBK. If you sign up right now, link down below. Not an aggressive point, just a little one this time around. There's a link in the description, takes you straight to the sign up page. Go sign up, join SBK, take advantage of the offers, and help us out too.
Anyone that was watching me while you were talking then will have seen me drink, and I almost poked myself in the eye while drinking.
Superb. You've had a good start.
I picked up the cup, and instead of picking it up like this, I picked it up like this. And this finger, I didn't know what to do. And as I got close, I went like that.
Mate, this is like ball security. Come on, secure the cup.
Literally.
Get it in your mouth, put it down.
Yeah, exactly. Don't poke eyes. That's a negative. But
quickly, did you have a winning player of the day on Sunday?
No.
Oh,
well, I should have. Whoa! Load of snow just fell off something outside. I said the Packers. Josh Jacobs over 60-something yards, 6 carries for 44 and a touchdown, and then like, nah,
no, didn't fancy it.
Literally, we'll lose this game. It's fine.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about. I mean, we'll talk about the Packers in due course. They're the second game up on this podcast that we'll mention. But this year, they have been the banes, especially of my life when it comes to tipping, and they are my team, which just makes it even worse. But in general, they've been so hard to get right in terms of betting and tipping with player props and handicaps and everything. It's just been very frustrating.
You should tip against them.
I'm going to.
What? Spoilers. What are we doing? We are on the road as well to 500 subscribers on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We are on 452. We nailed our goal, thanks to you guys, of 450, 452 at the moment, but we'd love to go a bit further. If you are just finding us for the first time ahead of the playoffs, then you are very welcome on this podcast. Please do click subscribe down below, turn your notifications on, and leave a comment as well with your Super Bowl picks, your Super Bowl matchup pick, your picks for this weekend, anything that you want to share, any questions you have as well. Please do leave them down below, and also tell me if you spotted me poking myself in the eye while drinking. But let's move on. First game of the lot for Sunday night. We are looking at the Broncos against the Bills. The Bills are 9-point favourites. That's quite high. The over-under is at 47. We both sort of said to each other before coming on and recording, 9 points is a lot. The Broncos are a good team.
Yeah, I do think the line is slightly wrong. Whether that means I want to bet the Broncos +9 maybe doesn't really appeal, just purely because I think the Bills are going to win, and you never really know with Josh Allen what he's going to produce. But if I was pricing this game up, I'd have them at maybe 7.5-point favourites rather than 9. I don't know where you'd stand on that, but I do think it's very, very aggressive having the Bills at -9 right now.
It's one of the weird ones. I'd be like 6.5, but I also don't want to bet the 9.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's one of those in betweens. However, I'm playing in this game twice, so I'm going to take the lead on this. If you did watch or didn't watch our Saturday preview, go watch that for my spiel about rushing quarterbacks in the playoffs. I'm not going to do it again because
Thank God for that. Thank God for that.
It was long, it was boring, even I hated it, but it was necessary for looking at bets this weekend, and we put up two quarterbacks to rush or go over their rushing lines in the first couple of games. Bo Nix, though, is a guy that I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to pat myself on the back. I know what Bo Nix is going to do before Bo Nix knows what he's going to do.
I will say that at the start of the year, you were very less than complimentary about him. But you have, as the season's gone on, you've got Bo Nix very, very right.
He did suck in the first 4 weeks. You were like, oh,
he's a rookie, man.
Yeah, you're like, oh, because he's something there. It's like, right, you threw for 1 touchdown in the first 4 weeks and threw for 4 picks.
It looked like he had something. He's shown he has something. It just looked like he wasn't really integrated in that offense properly yet with the young wide receivers apart from Courtland Sutton. And he was making a couple of rookie mistakes. But as he's gone through the year, he's been great.
Yeah, his confidence has risen as well. Did you see the Devon Vele touchdown catch last week?
I did, yeah. A little bit of a tip drill catch, wasn't it?
It wasn't even that. It was like, oh. And then Vele comes in, what are you doing? just grabs it, and Bo Nix is like, yeah, that was good. It's like, mate, no part of that meant to go to Devon Vele. I think it was Adam Troutman.
Yeah.
That was gross. However, the consistent thing with Bo Nix, I think I'm like 6 for 6 with Bo Nix this year, by the way.
Not bad.
Let's go 7 for 7. Bo Nix, his rushing yardage or rushing line is 25.5 rushing yards. I think that's super low in this. Look, his last 4 games, he's rushed 8 times, 3 times, 7 times, 7 times, 23 yards, 25, 31, and 47. They are looking once again to get Bo Nix running the ball. The Broncos, they did run the ball quite nicely, actually, in the final game of the season when they absolutely whooped the backups of Kansas City. However, as I mentioned in our first podcast for Saturday, quarterbacks run the ball a lot more in the playoffs. They're in win now mode. They see a gap, they're going to go grab the 3, 4, 5 yards. Bo Nix, we know that he's capable of grabbing a fair few more yards than that. He always looks to run the ball. His last 3 games, he averaged 8.33, 4.43, and 6.71 yards per carry. I don't necessarily like him to find the end zone, but I think he'll go over this line of 25.5. And I think Bo Nix could be a very interesting play in this game. If this game is close, it's down to Bo Nix. It's not down to the rushing game from the running back side of things from the Broncos. It'll be Bo Nix having to throw the ball, and I think 25.5. More snow. I don't even know where it's coming from. It's like big sheets that are just crashing down. But yeah, Bo Nix will go over 25.5 rushing yards.
Did you get bored of your own spiel there? You just snow.
If you could see how big the bits of snow that are falling down, it's not like little bits. It's like big old sheet. That's what snow does. That's what snow.
Nice sound effect. Yeah. I tell you a team that's used to snow.
In here.
I tell you a team that's used to snow. The Buffalo Bills. They used to snow. Did you see them earlier in this campaign where they played in that snow game? And do you know who was very good in that snow game? Josh Allen.
Oh, yeah, Josh Allen is good.
Josh Allen was he's probably the elite QB. Do you think he's going to win the NFL MVP, by the way? I don't know if that's been announced yet. Hopefully not.
I don't care, honestly.
I do, because I wanted Lamar Jackson to win it.
Yeah, I'm cheering him on for you, but I don't care. I said in the podcast when you put him up, I don't like that market because you're voting on someone's opinion. I mean, let's face it, Joe Burrow is the MVP, but his team didn't win, so he can't win the MVP. Joe Burrow was the best player in the National Football League this year, but because we've got a bunch of old fuddy-duddies making votes on who the MVP is, it's going to be someone else. Who cares?
Okay, well, let's just say that Josh Allen potentially will win it, and therefore he is the best player in the NFL, according to everyone. I mean, he's one of them. He's definitely top 5 no matter what. He's going to go into this game, and basically everything, all Buffalo Bills fans, all people punting on the Buffalo Bills, all people who hope the Bills will go far in the playoffs, they're just hoping Josh Allen turns up, because without Josh Allen, this team is pretty average. I mean, we saw it last week against the Patriots. They somehow lost to a team who would have had the first overall pick and kind of didn't really want to win, yet they did beat the Bills backups. Buffalo don't have that many good players. It's pretty weird. I mean, they've got an amazing quarterback, a good running back in James Cook. They have an okay core of receivers. I say okay, I think that's probably generous. Khalil Shakir is good. Keon Coleman could be okay. The others are pretty much much of muchness, I think. Dalton Kincaid's been probably the disappointment of the year when it comes to tight ends. The defense is average at best, albeit they can perform well on a going day. It's all on Josh Allen. And I think this offense is going to be virtually running through Josh Allen yet again. Whether that be passing, running the ball, I think Josh Allen's just going to dictate how well the Buffalo Bills do against the Broncos. And I'm going to take Josh Allen anytime touchdown at 5-6. He's great at running the ball. He's just such a big frame. He's determined in the run. He's aggressive. He's powerful. He's hard to bring down. And when he carries the ball, he tends to manage to get to the end zone if he's within the 10-yard line towards the end zone. He's going to be given the ball a lot. James Cook isn't really a kind of red zone carrier as a running back. He's more of a guy who will move the chains in midfield. And Josh Allen has 9 rushing touchdowns in his last 7 games. Chalk up at least one more here. I think he'll get in the end zone and kind of land us a bet on Sunday at 5-6.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen have a big game. By the way, real high IQ from the Buffalo Bills against the Patriots. They're losing that game.
Oh, yeah, I understand, because they don't want Patriots to have the number 1 overall divisional rival.
Do you know what the Patriots fell to, pick-wise?
Was it 4 or something like that?
4.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't affect them because they're not going to take a quarterback anyway because they've got Drake May. And did you see Joe Milton's nickname that was going around on social media?
I didn't, but he looked really good in that game.
Bazooka Joe.
Yeah.
That's the
nickname. He looked really good.
Yeah, he did look very good. But they don't need a quarterback. Please don't take Ashton Ginty. But that's something to look at for next year. I'm also going to go Josh Allen. I think he could well find the end zone. There's every chance, and it's Josh Allen. He normally does. But, again, I'm going to stick true to form. I'm going to take Josh Allen on the rushing yards. Again, I think this line is very low. 39.5. I kind of expected this to be up with 50. Now, his last few games, he hasn't rushed the ball as much. 6 carries, 5 carries. Officially, he got 0 carries the other day against the Patriots. But he came in, he played 1 snap because he wanted to keep the streak alive on games that he started. Then he ran off high-fiving everyone on the sidelines because his streak was still alive. I feel like they've been rushing the ball less with him to preserve him for the playoffs. They've known from a long way out, we're going to get to the playoffs. They knew as well from a little way out that Kansas City were going to be the number 1 seed. So they didn't really have much to play for. They've been looking after Josh Allen. But let's go back to week 14, week 15. 10 carries, 82. 11 carries, 68. Let's go back to last year in the playoffs. 8 carries in the Wildcard Weekend, 74 yards. 12 carries in the divisional round for 72 yards. He got a touchdown and 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen is the archetypal quarterback who runs the ball a lot more, or a lot, in the playoffs. The more I look at it, 39.5 is very, very low. And I expect this game to be closer than the 9 points would suggest. So, look, I love Josh Allen this week. I think it's the first time I put up a Josh Allen bet all year, but that 39.5, that's very low. I'm convincing myself more and more that the longer we're talking about this, he'll be used a ton more. He gets loads of plays to use his legs. Yeah, Josh Allen's going to crush it.
Yeah, it should be a good start to Sunday. I think we're very Josh Allen heavy, but the Buffalo Bills will be Josh Allen heavy in terms of everything they do. It'll be a good watch, I think, no matter what. You're going to have plenty of opportunities for you to hit your over in the rushing yards, and I'll have plenty of opportunities for the touchdown too.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a start for our 4 games. We've got the Packers taking on the Eagles as well. The Eagles are 4.5 point favourites. The over-under is 45.5. I'm going to sit this game out. Don't like it. So I'm going to leave it to our resident Packers fan to take us through the Green Bay Packers road to the Super Bowl.
It's not going to last very long, I'm afraid. Look, I'm 1 from 7 this year. I calculated 1 from 7 with Packers tips and bets, which is just terrible, especially for my own team. I feel like they've been very hard to kind of guess what's going to happen. Sometimes they've been really good in games. Sometimes we've been very disappointing. Our defense can turn up one week and not turn up the next. Josh Jacobs has been good, but his workload hasn't been great in recent weeks, especially. Obviously, last week, look, we needed to win the game to move up in the seeding in the playoff race, but we decided not to play Jacobs for much of the game. Christian Watson's out with an ACL, which is probably going to leave him out for the whole of next year, which is just ridiculous piece of coaching to have him in the game last week. Where's the deep threat now? I mean, we've got Romeo Dobbs, who's a good wide receiver, but he's not a deep threat. Jaden Reed is very hit and miss. He's good across the field, but he tends to find it hard to get open, which is why we run the ball with jet sweeps a lot with him. He's not really a deep threat just due to his stature. Malik Heath, Bo Melton. I mean, where are we going here? The tight ends are going to play a big role for the Packers, but I don't know. I struggle to see us beating the Eagles. I'm going to take the Eagles -4.5. And I promise this is not reverse psychology because I want my team to win. I promise it's not. I do think the Eagles will beat us probably by 7 points or more. I can see maybe a 27-20 game here with Philly coming out on top. Their offense is too good, to be honest. Jalen Hurts, providing he gets through concussion protocol, good quarterback, should be able to move the ball on us. Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs in the league. No doubt about that. Don't need to say much more. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, a good tandem at wide receiver. Dallas Goedert is okay at tight end. And their defense, they've got two of the best corners in the league in Mitchell and DeJean. They've got CJ Gardner-Johnson at safety. I mean, they've just got too much talent, I believe, for the Packers. As much as I want the Packers to win, I think the Eagles are going to progress, and I think they'll do it quite comfortably. So I'll take Eagles -4.5 at 10-11 as my only play in this game.
Yeah, Jordan Love's not 100% either, is he?
No, he's hurt. No. He's got an elbow injury.
Yeah, he missed the majority of last week. It wasn't the plan for him to miss that much time. He was going to try and come back in at the end of the game, but he wasn't able to, and the Packers lost anyway. But we'll move on from the Packers Eagles, and we'll move on to one of the more interesting games. I think this could be the most exciting game of Wildcard Weekend, with the Commanders taking on the Buccaneers. The Bucs are 3-point favourites. The over/under 50.5. We like that. I think this could be a heavy points game. And I was going to say two exciting young teams, but they're not necessarily. The Commanders are because Jaden Daniels is there, but the Buccaneers are just fun to watch.
Both teams are fun to watch, to be fair. I think these are probably the two most exciting teams from a neutral because their defense isn't great, neither of them. Their offense is high-powered and they've got loads of playmakers. Before we talk about our bets, can we briefly talk about Mike Evans from Week 18?
Yeah, disgusting. To be fair,
it's horrible.
To be fair, we put him up. We called it. We called what was going to happen, and it happened.
Yeah, he landed in that limbo range between 85 yards, which he needed to cover his incentive, and also between 85 and 92.5. I think we put up as the line. Yeah, just horrible. But that final play, I suppose it was good to watch because he just needed 5 or 6 yards to cover his line and get $3 million. But what on earth is the Saints D coordinator doing? Is it not obvious? There's like 7 seconds on the clock. They're passing the ball despite being in victory formation. Is it not like incredibly obvious that Mike Evans is going to get the ball here? In what world are they just allowing that to happen? It's so weird. I'd have put everyone on Evans.
I think there's
what difference to make.
If it was me, the drive before, I'd have just taken knees.
Well, yeah, or you could have done that. I mean, it was ludicrous. Surely, as the Saints, you want to have a little bit of an edge over the Bucs. You don't want this guy to go and make $3 million. I know he's been a great receiver, a great player in the league, but like these are opposing teams. They're kind of rivals in some kind of sense. Why are you just letting him do it? It's so weird.
All I'm saying is, I would have loved to have seen Marshawn Lattimore still on this team.
Me too.
That final play, I feel like he would have just run up to Mike Evans and absolutely pulverized him.
Yeah, DPI. It should have been DPI or holding just to really annoy him.
Yeah, 5 straight like targeting calls. Right, let's move into the game. I'm going to go first because I've got Baker Mayfield in here again. We're on the rushing side of things. And again, this is a line that I just don't think bookmakers have cottoned on to the fact that quarterbacks run the ball a lot more in the playoffs. 17.5 yards is the over-under on Baker Mayfield rushing yards. That's at 10-11. I think Baker's going to carry the ball quite a bit in this game, that he's going to have to remain competitive. And he's been carrying the ball more than you'd think this year. He had a bit of a lull again between week 13 through 17. Even in that, he was still getting 2 to 3 carries on average per game. He had 1 carry week 17. Last week, he had 9 carries for 68 yards. I think that's what Baker Mayfield wants to do. And even going back to last year, he had primarily 1 carry, 2 carries from week 10 onwards. He had week 16 and 18, again, when it mattered, where he carried the ball 5 times, not for much. Then he got into the playoffs. He carried the ball twice in both games for 15 yards and 16 yards. I think he has to run the ball a bit more this year. I know they've got Bucky Irving, but obviously Chris Godwin's been out. Jalen McMillan has stepped forward. I think Baker Mayfield, again, will go over this line. The Commanders, you can run on them. Their defense is not brilliant. It's not terrible, but you can move the ball against them. And I think Baker Mayfield's going to be in the mode of, I'm going to take 5 yards when I can. He only needs to do it a few times to cash this line. So I think Baker Mayfield, he's going to be running like a man possessed, Tom.
Yeah, we talked about it briefly in the Saturday podcast as well. Again, another word. Go check that out after this podcast if you haven't already. But we talked about sneaky quick QBs, and Mayfield is. He's quite a good runner of the ball as well. It's not like I'm going to run for 5 yards and slide. He does tend to try and get as much yardage as possible when he does run the ball. So, yeah, I like it. What's it time for?
It's time to joint play.
Nice. Strong. Yeah, again. We do kind of need a graphic when you do that rather than just seeing your face go like this into
How
the microphone.
much for me to take a sip and just like up in the air like a play?
I don't want you to ruin your laptop, mate. So we'll save that for the Super Bowl. Yeah, we'll save it for the Super Bowl. It's time for the joint play. Do you want to go with it, or do you want me to do it?
I'll let you go because you're copying me here.
I'll put my thing in the chat first. What are you talking about?
He did, but it's my thing.
Okay, it is your thing. It is a quarterback rushing, which is Luke's thing, what he's talking about there. Jaden Daniels over 45.5 rushing yards at 10-11 for the Washington Commanders. I think this game's going to be a proper shootout. You've already talked about Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think they're going to score plenty of points on Washington, but I think Washington are also going to score lots of points on Tampa. It's a great choice for the primetime game, by the way, on Sunday night. What a matchup this is. Jaden Daniels has been fantastic all season, arguably the best rookie quarterback in the league. Bo Nix obviously up there as well. I think Michael Penix Jr., by the way, is the best quarterback moving forward out of the rookie class, but that's to be seen. Jaden's had a great season, whether that be running the ball, passing the ball, making highlight reel plays, whatever. He's just been fantastic. At the start of the year, they were running the ball a lot with him because they quite clearly didn't trust him throwing the ball in week 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. That has slowly gone down, and his rushing, the amount of attempts has decreased, whereas his passing attempts have increased. And he's making these big throws to Terry McLaurin, to Diami Brown, to lots of wide receivers in the Commanders team, whereas he's not running the ball as much. However, he did have a rib injury, which was a part of the reason they were protecting him. But as you've already talked about, with numerous of your bets so far, these quarterbacks are now going to be allowed to run the ball when possible. Jaden Daniels, if you go back to week 1, when they played the Tampa Bay Bucks, he had 12 carries for 88 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. His line this week is 45.5. If he can run the ball, he is so agile and dynamic. He makes people miss. He's basically Michael Vick 2.0. Give me Jaden Daniels over 45.5 rushing yards. I think he covers this easily, especially if the Commanders go down early. I think he's going to be scrambling a lot.
Can I boost your stat that you mentioned?
Go on.
It was 16 carries rather than 12.
Okay.
Even better.
Yeah.
The rest of it you nailed. 88 yards for 2 touchdowns. He still nearly covered this line against Dallas last week, and he only played like a few snaps. He threw the ball 6 times on 12 attempts, and he carried the ball 4 times for 27 yards. Jaden Daniels, I like inexperienced quarterbacks going into playoffs to run the ball. They are the definition of I need to win now. And also, as you say, it's the playoffs. If you're hurt, suck it up. You've got a whole off season to get over it. He's had his rib injury. I'm sure he's still hurting in some way, but this is the time where coaches go, look, you just got to go and do it. And players do it as well. But even in the last few weeks, 16 carries in week 17 against Atlanta, 127 yards. He went 81 yards in week 16 against Philadelphia, 66 yards against New Orleans in week 15. He regularly has gone above, not even just this line, but above 50 yards. He's going to be getting the ball a ton. He's going to be running a ton with the ball. Sometimes he runs with it when he's not even meant to. He just doesn't like the play. He'll take off and he'll see what he can do. I don't necessarily like him to get a touchdown. If he does, then whatever. But he's not scored in the last 4 weeks on the ground. But I think Jaden Daniels over 45.5 is absolutely a way into this spot. The more I talk about these quarterbacks rushing, love it.
Yeah, I think this one is money, to be honest. I think this one's probably the banker of the bankers of all of these QB rushes. But you've made a strong case for plenty in this podcast and the Saturday pod, not to spoil other selections. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I was very close to putting Daniels rushing yards as my player of the day, but instead I'll wait until the final game. One last point, though, on Jaden Daniels. 9 times this year he's rushed for 47 or more yards. 9 times. He's going to make that 10 on Sunday.
He's been ridiculous. Well, then if you drafted him in fantasy football, you probably had a very good time in your fantasy football season. One more game to look forward to, though. We're talking about the Rams taking on the Vikings. This, of course, is the game that could be moved to Arizona, but we'll find that out later on in the week. But Minnesota traveling to, at the moment, LA. The Vikings on the road, 1-point favorites. They've been oh my goodness, they're good. team of the year. They won 14 games, lost 3, obviously lost to Detroit last week. They looked bad against Detroit, and Sam Darnold in particular looked bad, but he's had a good season. The over-under's 48 yards. 48 yards? That would suck.
I'll take the over.
I'll take the over on that one. 48 points. This is I would say, of the good teams, or the teams with a real good record, the Rams were probably the one team you didn't want to go and face.
We both made the mistake, and I can't remember what week it was. It was a Thursday night football game. We made the mistake of putting up the Vikings -4 when they played the Rams. Do you remember that?
Yep.
It ended up 30-20 to LA, and the Rams looked way better than Minnesota did. Now, I understand that Minnesota have had a really good year, but the Rams are sneaky good. It's like they've had some poor games throughout the season, but even in those games, there's been glimmers of hope. Puka Nakua's been injured. Cooper Kupp's been hurt. Puka actually missed half of a game as well due to, I think he was ejected or something like that. There have been issues on both sides of the ball for the Rams, but when everyone's playing, they have been very good. I agree with you. I wouldn't want to be going to LA or Arizona, wherever this game is, to face the Rams. I think they're dangerous. And I'm going to take the Rams money line here just to win the game. They're even money. I know with a couple of firms, they're slightly shorter, 20-21, but you can get even money, or you could. And anyway, when we're filming this podcast, I'm not making the mistake that we made on that Thursday night football game. I think the Vikings are good, but I don't think they're great. They kind of proved that against Detroit last week. If you can't move the ball in Detroit, then something's wrong. Now, I know that the play calling from the Lions side was brilliant on defense. The secondary was fantastic against Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. But I don't know. I think the wheels are slightly falling off Minnesota. And imagine now having that opportunity to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, having home field advantage for the playoffs, having a bye in the wildcard round. That was the hopes of all of the Minnesota team going into last week. And it wasn't just that they lost. They got embarrassed. They got absolutely killed by the Lions. Now they're suddenly going away from home. They're going on the road to face the Rams. They're probably, in my opinion, likely to go out in week 1 of the playoffs. That is just an incredible switch up for what could have happened for Minnesota. I think they're going to be lacking confidence based on what happened against Detroit. I think Sam Darnold's going to be questioning himself. And I fully understand that Justin Jefferson's elite, one of the best, if not the best wide receivers in the league. I understand they have talent at running back in Aaron Jones. Their D-line is very good. But when the D-line played the Rams in that Thursday night football game, they didn't even sack Matt Stafford once. Not even one sack. The Rams had 4 sacks of Sam Darnold. I like the Rams a lot here. I think Puka Nakua is going to show up. I think Kyren Williams is going to be very tough to hold. I think Matt Stafford is a quarterback you can fully trust in the playoffs. One of the better veteran QBs when it comes to playoff football. Always seems to make plays when he needs to. And although Cooper Kupp's been disappointing recently, I think he's going to bounce right back. I think we're going to see elite Cooper Kupp back this week. And I like the Rams. I think they're going to win this game. And I think they're going to win very comfortably as well. So give me them money line, even money.
Yeah, I don't hate it. One factor about this game, obviously with it potentially being moved, we know that the LA teams don't have many fans that go to games, and every single home game turns into effectively an away game with the amount of opposition fans that come. Minnesota fans are going to travel, and they're going to go far.
Yeah.
If it's moved last minute, it's about 6.5 hours I've just looked from SoFi to Glendale, Arizona, where the game would be moved to. I just wonder how many people will be able to get to the game and how much of a Vikings influence there will be there.
It'll be interesting, won't it? Like, as you've already touched on, these LA teams, they do get a decent turnout. Obviously, there are people in LA that support their teams. And when it comes to the Rams, people from St. Louis or wherever will be traveling over to support them if they are still situated there. But I agree with you. I don't think there are going to be too many Minnesota fans there. It's not going to be a road game as talked about for these LA teams, even though it's kind of being played in a different place other than SoFi. I think we're going to get an even crowd. I think both teams are going to have opportunities to, use the silent count, use a proper count, anything really. Just basically play like they would anywhere else in the country. So, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a Minnesota influence in this matchup, and I think that just helps the Rams even more.
Yeah, I have looked at this game a lot. Matt Stafford's under rushing yards is half a yard.
Mate, I have to say I'm disappointed in you. Without putting a spoiler alert, anyone who's got to this part of the podcast has surely listened to the whole pod and also watched.
Do it again. Do your thing.
And hopefully watch the Saturday podcast. So there hopefully no spoiler alert. You've put up quarterback rushing virtually it is every single game apart from the
Everyone.
Eagles-Packers, which you'd have no selection.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed there's no Stafford over 0.5 rushing yards here, I have to admit.
Yeah, well, when you get to the last game and your two options are Matt Stafford and Sam Darnold, I'm looking elsewhere. So we're going to go for a different position. And a guy that Tom mentioned quite extensively there, Puka Nacua. I think he has a big game. In defeat, in victory, don't care. I think he has a big game. His line isn't actually as high as I thought. I thought he could be a sort of guy who'd be nearing 100 yards. He's not far off of it, but 88 and a half receiving yards. When I first looked at it, I thought, that could be a bit steep. It's not. Puka's been so dominant this year. His first game of the year, obviously, he got hurt against Detroit. He missed a bit of time. He came back. He had a good game against Minnesota, 106 yards. He got ejected in the game against Seattle for throwing a punch. Since then, he's been brilliant, and he's been almost faultless as well. 98 yards, 123, 117, 56, 162, 97, 56 yards, and 129. He's been over this line consistently. And a large part of that is, yes, Cooper Kupp has sucked in recent weeks, and he's not been getting the ball at all. Am I boring you?
No, sorry, mate. I'm just tired.
That was a massive yawn from Tom there. He's like, Puka Nacua again. He's been getting the ball loads. Look, his target percent, or not target percentage, target numbers, 14 targets in week 10, 13 in week 12, 14 in week 14, 14 targets again in week 17. He's a big, big part of this offense. I do think Cooper Kupp will bounce back with somewhat a bigger game, but his last 3 games have been absolutely dreadful. So it doesn't take a great deal of bouncing back from that. And as I say, they have played Minnesota once so far this year, 9 targets, 7 catches for 106 yards. I think Puka Nacua is going to have another big week. He might find the end zone again for this bet. I don't really care. I'm going to take Puka Nacua over 88 and a half, and I'm going to end the run of tyranny on rushing quarterbacks because I just don't want to go near either of these two.
How gutted will you be if Puka doesn't cover and Matt Stafford gets 2 rushing yards?
I'd be more disappointed if Sam Darnold goes over, because Sam Darnold does actually run the ball, and his line, 11 and a half, to be fair, is doable. Honestly, I will probably use Sam Darnold in bets at the weekend, because I'm just going to smush most of them in and just see what happens. More snow falling down.
I don't want to hear any more about this snow.
It's the playhouse outside. It's got like a slanted roof, and it keeps sliding off.
I got you. You won't be able to play in that for a while then.
You're like, ooh. Right, let's go through our selections for the second Wildcard Weekend show. Again, if you haven't caught our Saturday one, do go back and watch that if there is still time. If not, go back and see how we did. Make sure you subscribe down below as well. Hit the notification button. You'll be told whenever we put up a new video, and leave a comment with your favourite plays down below. Tom?
Yes, pick sponsored by SBK. Link down below if you want to sign up to SBK and take advantage of the offers. 4 selections on Sunday for myself. Number 1, Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills. Anytime touchdown at 5-6. That's in the first matchup. The game's at 6 p.m, I think, on Sunday. 9:30 p.m. game on Sunday. The Eagles against Packers. I like the Eagles minus 4.5 at 10-11. Packers fans, I'm rooting for Green Bay, of course, but I think Eagles will cover and beat us easily. Then in the Commanders-Bucks game, that's the primetime game at 1 a.m. on Sunday night, Monday morning. Give me Jaden Daniels over 45.5 rushing yards. That's at 10-11. Close to being my play of the day. But instead, the play of the day is the LA Rams, money line to beat the Minnesota Vikings. Just a better team. Give me even money there.
Yep, I quite like a few of yours this week. I'm going to go for one more, but kind of down the same path. Bo Nix over 25.5 rushing yards at 10-11. I like that from the Denver side of things. Jaden Daniels, we're going to go joint play in Wildcard Weekend over 45.5 rushing yards again at 10-11. Baker Mayfield over 17.5 rushing yards for Tampa. And then we're going to go wide receiver, Puka Nacua over 88.5 receiving yards. I've changed my play of the day mid-show.
Go on.
It was going to be Bo Nix, but Josh Allen, that 39.5 is so low. I love it. I just love it.
I prefer it. Yeah, I prefer that to Nix, to be honest.
5-6 about Josh Allen, 39.5. I think he goes like 55 and over, honestly. But Josh Allen will be the play of the day. We're going to be back next week, regardless of what happens. Regardless if we go 0 from 15 or whatever our numbers are, Tom. We're going to be back next week talking about whoever's made it through into the next round of the playoffs. And we'll be welcoming in Kansas City and Detroit as well.
Yeah, we're absolutely not going to go 0 from 15 or whatever, however many tips you put up. We're going to go at least 80%, I think, between Saturday and Sunday. And did you know what they say, by the way? They say that if you're watching this and you click that subscribe button, you're going to get loads of luck. Did you know that?
You're going to get loads of what? Loads of luck?
Yeah, people get loads of luck if they click that subscribe button.
Have you been watching like Nico Amalana on YouTube?
I haven't, but I
No.
know who that is.
Yeah, because he does stuff like that. But apparently, if it works, look, there's only one way to find out, isn't there?
Exactly. You've got to click that button, and then you'll just get loads of luck, and we'll get loads of winners.
And if you don't click it, and then like, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen to you, but you break your leg next week.
Yeah, of course.
You'll think,
we're just saying.
This is Tom and Luke that did that. But leave a like down below. That's a very weird tangent to end our Wildcard Weekend on. But leave a like down below, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff that we want you to do. That would be great. We're on our road to 500 subscribers. And until Tom, we get to speak to you next week, stay safe, look after another. Goodbye.